Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to FL-IDN Spring 2020 Professional Development Webinar Series. My name is Tom Tu. I am a statewide programs coordinator and instructional designer here at Florida Virtual Campus. FL-IDN is brought to you through the partnership with State University System of Florida Board of Governors, the Florida College System, and the Florida Virtual Campus. Today's webinar is partnered with Valencia College. In a 2018 survey of instructional designers and online learning support staff at Florida's colleges and universities, the participants identified enhancing accessibility in course design and teaching and learning as their top professional development need. The FL-IDN has made great efforts in addressing these needs of our community members. Increasing the accessibility awareness and promoting best practices continue being our top priority for this year. So how do you engage faculty in adopting universal design for learning principles? In today's webinar, the presenters will provide an overview of their college-wide initiatives related to UDL and accessibility and describe their support model for developing the instructional design team, creating resources for faculty and the staff, and collaborating with partners within the college. Today's presenter will be Geni Wright, Director of Online Teaching and Learning at Valencia College, Tran, Faculty Developer and Instructional Designer at Valencia College, and Bergeson, Faculty Developer, Instructional Designer at Valencia College. So with that, let me turn it to our wonderful Valencia College team.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Tran, and I'm here with Aaron and Geni, and we're all from Valencia College, but we actually work at 3 different campuses. So today I'm at the East Campus, Aaron is at the Winter Park campus, and Geni is at the district office. And we're very glad to have you all here today. We did take a look at the different roles that you all have at your institutions because we wanted an idea of who we're speaking to today and the kinds of questions that you might have for us. And based on the preliminary information, we have about 43 instructional designers, so about half of the participants today are instructional designers. And we also have a lot of technologists or multimedia specialists on the webinar today, as well as administrators, and this includes directors or LMS administrators. And we did have an other category, and the other category includes librarians, accessibility specialists, or even student success coaches. So it's a very diverse crowd here today, and I'm really glad to have you all here.
Okay, I'd like to just go over what session objectives will be. So in this session, we will provide an overview of college-wide initiatives related to universal design for learning and accessibility. We're going to describe the support model for developing the instructional design team. We'll describe the support model for creating resources for faculty and staff, and also the support model for collaborating with partners within the college. Our next slide will go over the session outcomes. So by the end of this presentation, all attendees will reflect on support models used within their institutions for universal design for learning and accessibility initiatives, examine the quality of existing resources for faculty, staff, and students related to UDL and accessibility, and identify strategies to engage institutional stakeholders in supporting UDL and accessibility initiatives. So we have an activity that you can feel free to participate in as we're going through the presentation. On the next slide, you'll see we have a link to a Padlet. If you're unfamiliar with Padlet, it's basically it's a place where you can share your thoughts and ideas. And so we've set up a point activity. And POINT is just an acronym. It stands for pluses, opportunities, issues, and new thinking. So as we're presenting through how we worked through our model of UDL support, I'd like for you to consider what pluses exist at your institution already. What is working well in this area where you work? What are some opportunities for growth, or maybe some opportunities that you have in professional development to get some of this information out there to your colleagues or system-wide? What are some issues that you've run into that you've identified? And lastly, what are some new thinking areas that you've identified throughout this presentation that you may want to take back to the people that you work with? We also have a QR code there as well if you have a mobile device that has the ability to scan that and you want to just work off of that. So I'm going to turn this over to Geni to give us a little bit of historical context on how we got to where we are.
Right. So thank you, Aaron and Rose. So what we started with is what we refer to as our rubric for online competencies. We actually, prior to that, established an online learning plan. It's a multifaceted plan that really focuses in on success gaps between online and different modalities, particularly face-to-face. And one of the aspects of this online learning plan was to establish some criteria for all of the online courses to go through a course peer review. If you're at an institution that uses Quality Matters, it's a very similar process. It's a paneled review of faculty that will serve as reviewers on a course, but unique to our rubric, it also includes design and delivery, which also incorporates the dean to go in and look at not just design components, but the delivery of instructional materials. And one of the things that helped us in leveraging universal design and accessibility with the context of the ROC, as which we refer to it, is an entire section that's focused on accessibility. And it includes aspects of universal design, of captions, alt text, all of them, the main components that you would consider to be the foundation of accessibility in universal design and online. So the idea being that all of our online courses over a period of about 5 to 6 years will go through this rubric review, so that enables us to really kind of get our hands around, as many institutions, online has grown kind of a grassroots aspect. So it kind of gives us an idea as far as proving what we think we might find in online courses, but also enables us to kind of remediate some of the concerns that we're already finding in courses as we go through review. So we started with a pilot of about 35 faculty, keeping in mind that we're also doing a Canvas migration. So this enabled us to really kind of focus in on, when we started this process, focus in on changing some of the mindsets from Blackboard design to Canvas design. So it enabled us right from the get-go with a lot of our faculty to have an accessibility focus when designing and creating their courses. So we started in the summer of 2018 with a pilot. And as with any rubric, kind of helping to determine areas we might need to provide more annotations or resources or more support. It enabled us to really focus in on some of the training and development opportunities, particularly focused around accessibility and areas that we knew that we needed to provide more support. And then Rose and Aaron will talk more about some of the support areas that we focused in on from there. We also developed a team, what we refer to as online learning excellence, and it includes instructional designers. We kind of differentiate between campus-based designers, which would be somebody like Aaron, who is kind of stationary at one campus, and what we refer to as online or college-wide designers. So total, we have about 17 instructional designers that are working on kind of supporting and consultation with faculty on their online courses or any modality of courses. We have 2 multimedia designers, and we actually have 8 faculty fellows. And those faculty are really, since it's a faculty-driven process, enable us to have faculty that are familiar with accessibility and universal design in the context of the rubric, and help to generate interest and faculty buy-in from their peers in order to participate in the rubric, but also to give some context and understanding of the why from a faculty perspective in regards to what we're trying to avoid is the compliance culture, but understanding the why behind some of the accessibility beyond just you have to have captions because we tell you you have to have captions, but understanding the why from a student perspective and a course design perspective. So this also enables us, the college has a focus on inclusion and diversity as part of our college-wide process. So it enables us to leverage universal design for online as part of that conversation, so that faculty who believe that inclusion is just focused on face-to-face, but also helps us to leverage that conversation when we refer to faculty in their design and online courses.
So, with that background and history of how all of this work came together, one of the first tasks that we had to do was examine our existing resources for UDL and accessibility across the college. And at that time, we had one professional development course that faculty could take to learn a little bit more about universal design. And it was a 2-hour PD course that was offered in a face-to-face format. And as part of this course, faculty were able to use the word accessibility checker to learn more about accessibility, but the course itself was mostly compliance-based and emphasized the more technical part of accessibility without really explaining the why behind it. And it also didn't cover any other tools, particularly video captioning, and it didn't even include anything about UDL. And so we figured that we should probably re-examine that course and modify it. Another resource that we had at the college was one staff member who was on our Office for Students with Disabilities team, and this person was the go-to person for all accessibility questions. And we wanted to change our model so that one person would not be the only expert. And we realized this when that staff person actually left the college. And so we knew that we needed to provide additional training for our other team members, especially the faculty development team, because we interact a lot with faculty. Another thing that we had to do was then develop the faculty development team. And Geni mentioned that our team is very large. We have 17 faculty development instructional designers. We have campus-based centers where faculty can go and get support. And even at our centers, we have faculty developers, instructional designers. We have faculty and instructional support specialists. And so there's a lot of different people who interact with faculty on a daily basis. And we all wanted to make sure that we all had a unified approach and understanding of UDL and accessibility. And so our first step was developing the team on UDL and accessibility. We actually meet once a month for what we call our ID&D meetings. And we use these meetings as a space to discuss UDL and different accessibility tools. And so our team gathered and we shared best practices and lessons learned. We actually tried out new accessibility tools before they were available to faculty so that we could be prepared when faculty came in with questions. And it was really important for us to ensure that everyone was on the same page in the overall direction and understanding of UDL so that we all felt comfortable with leading these conversations when faculty came in to talk to us about it. We also wanted to take a look at the resources and training that we had on different accessibility tools. So at the time we were moving from Blackboard to Canvas, and we gained access to a tool called Ally. And we turned this tool on in Canvas for a little bit and tinkered with it. We actually realized that it really good tool for our faculty and our at our institution. And so we then tried out UDoIt, which is a tool that got produced by UCF. And we also wanted to make sure that we had video captioning resources for our faculty. So we actually partnered with our multimedia designers. We have 2 of them. And we developed a captioning process flowchart because there's just like a lot of videos being produced in many different ways. So some faculty create their own videos that they put on their own YouTube channels, or we use Kaltura and Canvas, and so some faculty create videos that they put in Kaltura, and we wanted to make sure that faculty could learn how to use the YouTube auto captioning tool as well as the Kaltura auto captioning tool. We also gain access to another captioning tool called Replay Media, and so we just wanted to create a process in which we could either support faculty with using YouTube's captioning tool or Kaltura's captioning tool, or even get the videos captioned with Replay Media. And all of this just required a lot of time for our team to learn how to use the tools, because in addition to learning how to use the tools, we wanted to be prepared with resources and tutorials. And this includes written resources, video tutorials for faculty and for our team so that everyone knew how to use these different tools. We also had to figure out if these tools were even good for our faculty to use. In the instance of Ally, with all the little dashboards showing up, we decided that it was a little bit too overwhelming, and so we decided not to go with Ally.
So one of the things that was really critical for us as we moved forward is we didn't want to operate all of our accessibility kind of initiatives in a silo. So it required us to work with the institutional stakeholders. Valencia is really much more so than any of the other institutions that I've worked at, much more from a collaborative standpoint. So you're not necessarily on a one-man island. So we did have to make sure that we initiated conversation with our Office with Students with Disabilities, and in particular our Office for Instructional Technology, and Institutional Technology, so our IT department, because we didn't want to have them focusing on tools and technology that weren't necessarily accessible, and as well as we wanted to make sure that we had a very unified message that went with faculty. Valencia has since established an accessibility work group that has a diverse population across the college, where we have a voice where we can explain and share information of the work that we're doing with faculty, and any of our professional development strategies. There's somebody from IT that also talks about the technology, and we also work and partner with IT to really focus in on what our messaging is going to be, particularly around some of the tools that we are considering to include as part of Canvas, and leveraging our conversation and relationships to make sure that any of the technology that we are looking at as an institution, we're looking beyond just the use of that tool for one particular purpose, but also the accessibility of that tool to make sure that whatever we're sharing with faculty and other partners, so as faculty and staff, to make sure that we're using accessible. So our focus is really to model the model. So whether that's with our professional development or with any of the tools that IT or our Office for Students with Disabilities recommend, that it has that focus in mind. So we focus in on collaborating with those stakeholders to also kind of reaffirm the resources and processes that we established to make sure that we're all on the same page. So typically we'll see trends beginning of the semesters where faculty have notifications. So for whatever that might be for our accommodation, those will typically go through the online office through me, and then I help to distribute that work to a instructional designer, or pair that faculty member with an instructional designer to assist with things like captions or alt text or anything that might require for that faculty member, and understanding that we have the benefit instructional or institutional support. We do have funds available in something like 3Play to make sure that we have captioning dollars beyond just the tools that we have in Canvas.
So after we established some partnerships across the college, we started to develop some new resources for faculty. And the resources that we focused on are resources in courses. The first type of resource is like video tutorials, written tutorials that we created in partnership with our multimedia designers. One of these resources is also a Canvas course that faculty can self-enroll into, and it contains resources related to using UDoIT. We have video creation and video captioning tools because we realized some faculty just needed some better practices for creating videos, especially when it came to like quality of audio or how long should videos be, or even what the purposes of what videos should be. For example, some faculty wanted to re-record instructional videos in their courses, but they wanted to enhance them so that students would actually watch the videos and learn. And so they could partner with our multimedia designers to re-record their class videos. We also have resources about using the Canvas accessibility checker in this course as well. We just use this Canvas space to add resources that relate to UDL and accessibility, and faculty can access it and use it whenever they need it. We also gain access on our Valencia website to post these resources as well. So when our multimedia designers created these resources, we posted them in our Canvas course and on our Valencia website. In terms of courses, we did have that one previous course related to UDL that we then modified, and we infused more UDL into it. We also expanded it from 2 hours to 4 hours, and we modified it from a face-to-face offering into a mixed mode offering. And our faculty take this course as part of one of the required courses for what we call a digital professor certificate, and they have to complete several activities in this course. So one of the activities that they do is we ask them to use one of their course syllabi and actually get it in a Word format. Some of them are PDFs, and we ask them to get the Word version. And we actually have them use the Word accessibility checker so that they have the experience of looking at all the different warnings that come up, all the issues that come up. Word does a really good job of explaining what the problems are and how to fix the problems. And so our faculty get the experience of using the Word accessibility checker, but the important part here is we have them select their syllabus because we know that in an online course, creating a really strong start right experience is super important, and the syllabus is part of that start right experience. It's the first thing that students see from their instructor, and it's also how instructors welcome students into the course. So if you really want students to feel included and feel welcome, then they need to have a positive start right experience, and you can do that by creating a syllabus that is accessible. And we actually present that activity in this way in that class. So when we infuse inclusivity into the activity, the instructors see more of why. They want to make sure that they are creating a start right experience that is inclusive and doesn't present barriers to students. Other activities that they do in the class involve using some accessibility tools. So we actually have them use a captioning tool. First, we actually have them use a video creation tool to create a short video. And they can actually create a welcome video for their class or a video about how to navigate their online class. And then after creating the video, we have them use a captioning tool to generate auto captions. And then we actually have them go in and edit the captions for accuracy. So we're looking for correct spelling, correct punctuation. When we say 100% accuracy in captioning, that's what we're referring to. And they can use Kaltura, they can use YouTube for their video. We also have them use UDoIT and the Canvas accessibility checker, and we are usually there with them when they're using these tools just to answer any questions. Sometimes with UDoIT, the faculty get a lot of issues when they run these reports. It'll come back with 100 or 200 issues, and it can seem kind of disappointing or scary, and so we just try to be there and available to them to talk them off the ledge. And
oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just wanted to also add, when we do that UDoIT scan for accessibility, we found that the most optimal modality for that is the face-to-face session in the mixed mode, because like you said, when we're there, you know, even when we scan some of our courses, we get a lot of issues as well. And so just kind of reassuring them, saying, hey, yeah, this is something that you can easily change, and walk them through. I did also want to add on to one of the activities that Rose had mentioned that we do, where they are doing their accessibility checking in their Word document syllabus. A lot of the times when we do that, both Rose and I will see that there are some maybe vocabulary that we use when we talk about accessibility that doesn't initially get met or understood. And so we found that it's really helpful to give a lot of screencasted feedback to the faculty about how they can make those corrections in their syllabus.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that every time they submit their assignment, their syllabus, we actually go in, we open up a screencasting tool like Camtasia or Screencast-O-Matic, and we just go through their syllabus with them, and we open up the Word accessibility checker, and a lot of times it opens up conversations about what version of Word they're using, differences in PC versus Mac. The accessibility checker sometimes come out with different results, and so we just I think that activity is a really great way for us to build some partnerships with faculty, because they know that, one, we're not lying when they can see our results on the video, and they know that what we're talking about is what we're seeing. And so sometimes it's like, I see this, but you see this, and but they know that we're there to help them understand the concepts behind accessibility and universal design. And so I really enjoy that activity. I think it gives us some more face time with faculty, and helps us enhance our partnerships as well. And just being co-facilitators in this course. So the people who facilitate that course, it's actually Aaron, me, and Geni. And so I think being co-facilitators helped us identify common challenges for faculty, so that we can ensure that we are creating good resources for them. So we know that if video captioning is something that they struggle with, and we know that we need resources for them about video captioning. Or I think back then we had video captioning tools, but then we realized we needed some video creation resources. And so just being co-facilitators in this course helped us identify where our faculty really needed the support most.
I could also add, because Andy asked a really great question in the Q&A box about expectations or policies related to captioning and the accuracy of captioning. So prior to really instituting a lot of these resources and support mechanisms for faculty as they related to captioning, just captions in general, faculty really, there even now still isn't necessarily a college-wide formal policy as it relates to captions. But as we have increased communication, whether it's through the rubric, which has a caption requirement, whether it's through the revision of our Universal Design and Accessibility course, through all of the resources communication that we share at every, welcome back, at every division meeting, on all of the centers. All of the instructional designers have, in consultation, focus in on making sure that there is some discussion if a faculty member is incorporating multimedia in regards to captioning, and then increasing awareness of the resources and support that we have seen an increased trend, particularly as it relates to STEM courses, science and math in particular, with requests for support for captions. And so as we kind of tackle one division at a time, the deans are also communicating with one another in regards to how their faculty are supported as they relate to captions and accessibility. And then that increases the communication between dean to faculty, and then faculty to instructional designers. So, so again, that collaborative nature where we are able to kind of say, here are the support mechanisms that we feel will help you along the way. And whether it is, let's show you how you can make the edits and how you can change that, whether you're team YouTube or team Kaltura. or let us help you kind of re-envision how you're utilizing multimedia. But here are all the resources and support mechanisms, and then we can walk you through all of those strategies to make that process a little easier for you. So we know that that's one of the challenges, in particular, when we think about time as one of the areas with which faculty tend to, at least in our experience, have tended to not want to kind of incorporate the captions in their videos. So that enables us to kind of have that conversation with them through the process. And Andy had another great question when we talk about determining whether we use 3Play or not. A lot of that is based on an individual's need. So whether it is, we have found Kaltura sometimes has challenge with captions with some more technical language. So if it's a video that incorporates a lot more technical language, if we need to maybe re-record sound, sound quality, we might take a different aspect with that. Also, sometimes turnaround time. So if it's the beginning of a term and it's for an accommodation, the best option right now for us would be the turnaround time with 3Play media. So it kind of depends on each individual basis, but all of the instructional designers are able to kind of make that determination based on the need and the video for that faculty member.
Thanks, Andy. All right.
Sorry, I kind of derailed that portion of your, I have a tendency to do that. So we can move on to
we can move on
resources. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we kind of provided all the resources that we have available for faculty, the courses that they can take to learn a little bit more, here's this team of people who can help you. How do you really communicate to faculty that they have these resources and these people available to help them out? So we actually communicate our resources out in several ways. The first, and we usually default to this one usually, but the easiest way to get to faculty is through their deans. So we usually send emails to deans to let them know, like, if some sort of new support model is available or resources. We usually communicate first to the deans because the deans share everything with their faculty. We also have a faculty association. We actually have a president that goes to every single campus. I don't know how frequently he goes to all these different campuses, but I see him at every single campus anytime I'm anywhere. And so he gets our voice out. He is the faculty voice, but he also meets with NCs and knows all of the instructional design team members, and he actually helps us get a lot of what we're trying to communicate out to faculty. And it's really important for us to have a very strong faculty association president who's kind of like our ally. Another way that we communicate our resources out is through the centers. We have a center on every single campus and at least one instructional designer at that center. And we always make sure that our team is updated with resources, course information, accessibility tools, anything at all related to UDL and accessibility. Especially because when faculty need support, the first place they go to is usually their center. We also have a Canvas resources website, which I talked a little bit about before. We share our resources on this website. And then we also have a Faculty Insight newsletter that gets released every month. And anytime we have updates to communicate out, whether it's related to Canvas or whether it's related to new tools that are available to faculty, new LTIs that they can try out, we communicate those updates through the Faculty Insight newsletter. And lastly, it's our faculty development team. And faculty development team kind of goes in with the Centers for Teaching and Learning Innovation. Our faculty development team, we consult with faculty. They can come in on the whim and ask for help. They can make appointments with us and come in. They email us, they call us. And so it's really important that the team itself is equipped with resources, either in an impromptu nature or for an as-needed basis. And so these are the different ways that we communicate all of our resources out to faculty.
Okay, I'd like to share just briefly with you the impact of our work. So we've seen a few different areas where this has really benefited us at Valencia. The first is that we start to have a shared vocabulary across our professionals and faculty on these terms like UDL, inclusive teaching practices, inclusivity and diversity, and accessibility. So we know what the other person is talking about when they use some of these terms. So that's really helped to make sure we're on the same language. The second thing is that there's an increased understanding. I noticed I kind of peeked into the Padlet, and one person said one of the issues was that there's some people aren't sure about the difference between accessibility and universal design, and you've noticed that with other people at your institution. So one of the places where we do clarify that is in our universal design for learning class, where we really parse out the two of those ideas and help them understand what those terms are. We also have seen participation in our professional development courses increase because of this. One of the main reasons is that the UDL course is a requirement for the digital professor certification, which is a part of a long process that we're having at Valencia's to help people have their courses peer reviewed. And so it's becoming a prerequisite for that. And so a lot of participation in these types of professional developments have increased because of that incentive. There's also a reinstitution of an accessibility and advisory group that oversees accessibility standards and resources for students and employees. So that group got back together as a result of this initiative. And Rose mentioned that there's a website that contains those accessibility resources for faculty and staff and students across the college. So if they need to look for resources, that's there and it's open for them. And finally, as part of this work, we've strengthened our partnerships with various stakeholders at the college, including faculty, librarians, our Office for Students with Disabilities, and our OIT, our technology department at the college as well. So I wanted to take this opportunity now. I'm going to put this back to Geni if she would like to answer any additional Q&As we have or from the chat. And if we have time, we may also look at the Padlet again if there's questions there.
Sure. So a couple of the questions, one of which, and I know, Aaron, you replied to Brenda specifically, but when we talk about faculty training in order for them to be able to teach online. So some campuses require what that digital professor certification for a faculty member in order for them to facilitate courses online. So for example, I've been a part-time faculty member for Valencia for about 8 years now. And in order for me to transition from a face-to-face or mixed mode faculty member to teaching online, I had to complete that certification. But that has really been is unique to that particular campus. It's not a college-wide incentive just yet. So as we are implementing this rubric for online competencies and having more courses go through review, it is part of a bigger strategy when it's focusing around online. So it will be a requirement in order for faculty to teach online. Currently, there is no credentialing or process with which faculty who may have experience teaching at other institutions or have online teaching experience to be able to have some sort of equivalency just yet. I know that the kind of group of faculty members that made that determination as being like the threshold with which a faculty member kind of that foundation of experience as to complete our courses, our curriculum. They determined that digital professor certification was the minimum requirements, with the possibility of a long-term strategy of having some equivalency, but currently that is not the case. I know we had a couple of questions, one of which was including, I know if you're familiar with Quality Matters, there's that 85% threshold. In order for a course to go through certification. We don't have a specific percentage threshold. Essentially, with the criteria, if a criteria is deemed not met, whether that's through the peer panel or through the dean, then that course will go through a re-review. And some of them could be relatively innocuous, for example, like, complete or fix your headers, or, any sort of instructional additional content in your course with maybe some minor modifications, but that still is one of those areas they will have, each faculty member that goes through the rubric for online competency review is paired with an instructional designer and a faculty fellow. And so that would be a conversation that the team would then have in order to kind of provide the best support mechanisms for that faculty member based on whatever it is that they might need. So for example, I know I had conversations with a faculty member who has some extensive documents in their course as it relates to some of the support for students in math. So we are establishing a series of meetings in order for us to kind of go through the documents and make sure that we kind of remediate all of the documentation in that course so that it would align with the rubric criteria. And that was the only criteria, although albeit a major one, that course needs to in order to meet all of the criteria. So we don't necessarily have a percentage. We just want to make sure that all of those criteria reach that met threshold. I know another question that came in regards to screen readers. So Rose, I think you had a series of recommendations that we share both in our universal design course and then in the centers as well.
Yes, all of our centers have access to JAWS as well as Clear Read. So if faculty really want to understand how a screen reader is being used, they can come into the center, sit down with us, and we can go through JAWS with them. We've actually had a lot of faculty come in, especially with math courses. They have a lot of questions about how JAWS reads like publisher materials, for instance. And so in those cases, we just have them come in, sit with us, and we use JAWS with them. But I actually personally like to use NVDA, mostly because it's free, but it's also really excellent. Some people have preferences because when the screen reads to you, you want to have a certain voice or whatever, but I personally like NVDA. Aaron mentioned Pericles, which is a free Chrome extension, and so those are other ones that you can use as well. There is also another question about applying ADA standards for Blackboard courses, which kind of goes back to when we talked about Ally. Ally is from Blackboard.
I know if you are a long time Blackboard user, that kind of navigating some of the accessibility challenges around Blackboard could be a little bit different than what those of us who've transitioned to Canvas might experience, but I think ultimately it's still the same processes, right? So, the major challenge I know that we faced when we were in Blackboard really focused in on the attached documents. And that was even something that we found in our Canvas migration. So, we tended to be a very PowerPoint centered, instructional strategy with Blackboard. And so Adobe products, having access for faculty to be able to review Adobe and those PDFs became challenging. So what we did was we made sure that each of our instructional designers across the college had access to Adobe Pro. So they could run an accessibility check with a faculty member during consultation, whether it was just as a faculty member came in and they were working on their course and the instructional designer noticed that they had PDFs, or that they were going through the course peer review process. The challenge is, even in Canvas with Adobe products, is it will still get flagged as you have to do the manual check. So you still have to go through and check all of those PDFs. So that's part of the reason why each of the instructional designers have access to that. So as they're paired and working with that faculty member in preparation for review, they're manually going through each of the documents to make sure that they have the readability and all of the elements within the PDFs or within all of their documents are also accessible. So it's also why we've paired the universal design course and designed it the way that we did, so that we kind of covered all of what we think might be all of the aspects that an instructor might use. So we talk about PowerPoint and the accessibility in PowerPoint with Word. We talk about resources that are available to faculty when it comes to PDFs. strategies to avoid PDFs or Word documents in designing their courses, and then also the different captioning tools and resources that are available to them. We talk about WebAIM and access to resources in regards to color contrast and what those things and ratios mean. So we really try to front load faculty with as much information as possible. And we also do communicate to faculty even during the process of review, with particularly around You Do It. This goes to Andy's question in the Q&A section about videos, and we do communicate that the videos are going to show up as flagged, that they want to make sure to reassure them that they have captions, and the panel will go through and watch, sure that the videos are accurately captioned. Again, we're trying to model the model, so faculty are quite forthcoming with other faculty members in regards to grammar and spelling of captions in their videos, and part of that process is, as our kind of preparation for review, is to walk faculty through that so that they're aware that that's going to be something that their panel will look at.
He also mentioned unpublished content showing up, especially with the link validator in Canvas. I think it's kind of helpful because some faculty, especially those who have been teaching for a really long time, aren't aware that they have certain things in their courses. And so the fact that it gets flagged, it's kind of like bringing awareness to what's in your course. So if you make a conscious decision to say, hey, I recognize that this content is in my course and that it's unpublished, I realize I still have to check the accessibility of all this content. It's just the awareness of it. I kind of like that it does flag it, because sometimes we have courses that just have a lot of content from 20 years ago that some faculty have forgotten about. Going back to the whole PDF discussion real quick, sometimes when we're talking to faculty about like PDFs and Word documents, we also ask them if it's possible to take what is on the PDF or the Word document and just put it on a Canvas content page. I think Blackboard kind of created this culture of PDFs. And so when we moved from Blackboard to Canvas, we had to really think about, okay, what's the purpose of this PDF? What am I trying to communicate? Is it an image, a table, just content, just text? And so even the same thing with PowerPoint slides. A lot of faculty want to include PowerPoint into an online course, but PowerPoint is used for presenting, not for online experiences. And so sometimes we have consultations with them about how to take the content that's being shared in a PowerPoint and actually move it into an online content page and kind of recreate the experience for students so that it's more appropriate for online learning.
I think one of the things that we found is that regardless of the tools, regardless of the support mechanisms that we have in place, it really comes down to establishing a culture of communication, so that all of the resources that we have available, we just reinforce that in almost every communication that we have with faculty across the college, whether it's in regards to Canvas, whether it's in regards to the course peer review, and also including deans as part of kind of that communication mechanism. And what particularly around You Do It that we found that was incredibly helpful is to kind of let faculty know when we first launched You Do It that they would receive a lot of those errors. So a lot of those flags, a lot of that content. And so a lot of times it was really overwhelming. And so people would run the report, see the number of errors that would come back, and then they would just completely shut it down. And it's like, well, that's a long-term strategy. And really what we were trying to instill in all of our communication with faculty and deans is that we're really striving for progress, not necessarily perfection, because we know that culturally this is a big shift. And so we're in year 2 of our rubric implementation, and we're already seeing growth and trends with how faculty are becoming much more receptive to understanding the need for accurate captions, the need for understanding the color contrast, and the universal design aspect of having multiple opportunities for students to engage and having the student voice. So I think we're seeing that trend move in a more positive manner. And we've done several reviews, but course reviews. But I think that all comes down to, having all of our communication points, whether it's a faculty development course, you're in a consultation with an instructional designer, whether you're in a division meeting and we've just come in to give presentation about the rubric, about the resources that we have available to you. We've really tried to make sure that we've shared that universal design and accessibility message and everything that we've shared with faculty over the last 2.5 years. And so we're just getting to the point now where we're seeing some of that positive movement. So just know that if you are in just launching, that it does take, it does happen, and it's like a glacial shift, but it is still happening, and we try to reinforce those small victories where we have faculty come into a center and I know that I have to have these captions done, and I know that this is a benefit to all of my students. I just need you to help me get there. And I think that that's where some of our conversations with faculty are at now.
Thank you for joining our session.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much again, Geni, Rose, and Aaron. If you have more questions for our wonderful Valencia team, please feel free to email me, ttu@flvc.org. I'd like to help facilitate further Q&A for you. And I want to invite you to subscribe to the FL-IDN IDN listserv and receive newsletters and announcements on more professional development, career opportunities, as well as rich resources shared by our IDN community members. And here is an announcement for upcoming webinars. Please mark your calendar. We are going to have a session entitled Access for People with Disabilities to Online Programs and Resources, to be presented by David Couch from Office for Civil Rights at U.S. Department of Education. The webinar time will be 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, February 10th, 2020. So please mark your calendar. I'm going to send out more details about this upcoming webinar, and also more webinars to be announced. So stay tuned. At the end of this webinar today, there will be a very, very, very short survey. Please fill out the survey and provide your feedback and suggestions for us. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.